do we have enough installers? Do we have enough qualified installers? Is the installer reputation in all countries the same? How can I become an installer? Do I have to do a lot of things to become an installer? Or is it somebody like me with 2 right hands that could become an installer? I have the bold perception of myself that if I would undergo, let's say, 3 months of training, I could also install a heat pump. I don't want to design it, right? But just put it into the wall. I can operate power drills. I have safety shoes, so that should be possible. But we will listen to our distinguished panel here, and I am super happy to introduce our board member, and I think really one of the most active people on training, Rolf Iver. This double name kills me. Myting Hagemann from Norway. He's also the Secretary General of the Norwegian Association and a long-term fellow of heat pump development in Brussels. Rolf Iver, please, and you introduce the panel.
I'm standing for half a minute just to get the energy up in the room. It's not as crowded now. It was early today, but still the best people is still in the room. I will start to give a really short introduction to the panel. And after that, I'll give you an introduction of the topic, and then they will present themselves more later. We'll start with Maria Gonella, that is the managing partner of Quantum Group from England, UK. Amber Weidel, co-founder of HKW Climate Jobs from Germany. And that is in short, ohne Hände keine Wende. That means no transition without installers. And then Sebastian Gries is working in Heimann Haustechnik from Germany. And you will all 3 introduce yourself and what you do later. So,
sorry.
You're eager to start? No. As Thomas said, I am the general manager of the Norwegian Heat Pump Association. Our main goal as an association is to promote increased demand for high-quality heat pump systems, not only to sell heat pumps, but high-quality heat pump systems. This includes, among the other things, we work with framework conditions and consumer information for various user groups, etc. But when you're talking about skills, we are the largest provider of training of courses in Norway for installers of air-to-air heat pumps from hydronic systems, large heat pump systems. We have, for some years now, had courses for flammable revisions for technicians and project managers. So we have training for heat pump educated installers. We have training for electricians that want to work with heat pumps, for engineers, the whole scale. But what is the background for this session? And that is, as it was stated earlier today, EHB estimates that 20 million additional heat pumps has to be sold within 2026 and 60 million by 2030. In Germany alone, and I think that is something you will stress, Amber, we'll need 450,000 additional installers to reach our climate goals by 2030. And to be able to double the numbers of newly installed heat pumps, we need enough installers. And that when we talk about skills, we quite often talk only on the installers. But we need heat pump technicians, plumbers, electricians, salespeople that actually can convince a customer to choose a heat pump, advisors, contractors, architects, engineers, etc. There's the whole scale of different kinds of persons. And in many countries, as has been discussed already these 2 days, we have several customers, businesses who are used to oil and gas, and they have hardly heard about heat pumps. So, what we are going to discuss now, what can we do in short and long term to ensure that there are enough players who can sell, design, maintain, install high-quality heat pumps? We know that the heat pumps that are installed and operated correctly, they work well. There are lots of field studies showing that. But if they're not installed, maintained well, too often they don't work as they should. So, I had challenged the panel when we are going to discuss this now. We have the difference between the educational system and training and reskilling. And we have to be clear, or you have to be clear when you're talking about this. Are you talking about secondary school, vocational school, high school, universities are talking about training courses. So, Maria, you are first.
Thank you.
So, please introduce yourself and why you are involved in this.
Well, Maria Ganella, we incorporated in 1997, so we've actually been installers for 25 years, and that's in all renewable technologies, not just heat pumps. We actually opened a training facility on site about 3 years ago, actually. It was just post-pandemic, and that was open to upskilling at level 3. Level 3 is industry standard for the UK. I was watching these training courses being run by our trainers in our own facility, and as I was watching them, seeing no hands-on at all, it was just literally death by PowerPoint, I was looking and I looked at my own children and I thought, I know that would not be useful for the student environment at all. So Quantum have actually developed an installation which is now being installed countrywide into further education. It doesn't just cover heat pumps, it actually covers 5 low-carbon technologies. It's air source heat pump, solar PV, solar thermal, battery storage and EV charging. What we wanted to show is a fully working system for these students, but they could actually then move from observing to an installation where they can actually do commissioning and decommissioning tasks, actually get their hands on the equipment, but then move across to the fault-finding system, which again is fantastic for maintenance engineers. The actual lecturer would put in place faults that the student would actually have to seek out and find, but at the same time, that's actually component identification. Together with the installation, which is now being rolled out countrywide in the UK, we've actually now partnered with Daikin. They was as interested as me with the student environment, which was so lovely. As you know, Daikin are a manufacturer of heat pumps, but they weren't just interested actually in the heat pumps, it was actually the entire ecosystem. We need to get the students, that next green workforce, coming through and allowing them a pathway for education. So together, ourselves and Daikin have actually just created the first course that's just been assured by City and Guilds. For those that don't know in Europe what City and Guilds is, it's one of the main awarding bodies in the UK. It's very renowned, and you can actually see it within Europe and in America. But what it does is it actually introduces these students at a lesser level, but 16 plus introduction to all 5 low carbon technologies. At the moment, it's just literally one college after another that's actually saying, yes, we need to sign up. It's for those that are actually on a 2-year NVQ, that are in built environment study programs. It can be bolted on at the end, but it's the most fantastic introduction to low carbon technologies. And it's, as I say, it's being rolled out in the UK at the moment.
Before I give the word to Amber, at the average school in the UK, when you go to vocational school, how much does the teacher itself know about heat pumps? And what do they learn today? That's
a great question, actually. Again, 73% of lecturers in the UK do not know how to train renewables. So what we've actually devised, and again, this is nationwide with the AOC, which is the Association of Colleges, is something called Train the Green Trainer. So the package that we've actually offered is a full introduction where we will go nationwide around the country, and our trainers will actually go and teach how to teach renewables into the colleges.
You teach the teachers.
Teach the teachers.
Yeah.
We've actually called it Train the Green Trainer. It's part of the package that we offer. That's actually something that we supply with the installation. So it's not just a matter of we will give you the product to learn on, but we will actually teach these teachers how to get the next generation upskilled, which is the 16 plus, which are the next workforce. We actually targeted the 16-year-olds on purpose, if I'm honest. I know, Rolf, I mentioned this to you before. Because we were upskilling at level 3, which is industry standard, whether this is just the UK being a little bit lazy or if it's just post-pandemic, I don't know. But we've really struggled with actually getting the older generation to upskill. They just don't want to know. And I don't know if it's age, laziness or what. But quite honestly, it's been so terribly difficult. Even within the UK, we've actually got an incentive. It's £500 that they actually give you. Even that, you cannot get them to retrain. I think they obviously earn too much money on the tools. A lot of the feedback that we're receiving from the older generation is, why do I even need to retrain? I've actually got another 10 years of retirement to sort of see out with gas boilers, which, again, they actually have. So that's why we took the decision as a company to actually not waste any more time on those that actually, if they don't want to retrain, they haven't got the love to retrain, let's focus on those that you can mould. The ones that you can mould are those in the colleges. It's the next workforce where you actually have got that chance. For an example, one college alone, that's 60 students a year, and already we've had such fantastic uptake, and we've now got City and Guilds actually marketing for us, which is phenomenal.
To wrap up, Maria, don't believe in old people like me that have turned 50. You believe in the youth. What about you, Amber? Like, what are you doing in Germany for the moment?
Yeah, my name is Amber. I'm doing Ohne Hände keine Wände in Germany. I'm from the T-shirt that Thomas keeps holding up, in case you're wondering. And we're talking here very much about career, or very much about which target group, like how to get more people into installing is, for me, really the question, who are those people? Are we talking more about retraining existing plumbers or HVAC technicians, like on heat pump technology? Are we talking more about getting young people into vocational training? Or are we talking about, you know, switching what I call career changers from like low-paying jobs into green jobs? And Ohne Hände keine Wände is getting, is focusing on this target group of career changers, specifically people 25 years and older that have no professional degree, in retraining them through a modularized training program to either become solar panel installers or heat pump installers, with the opportunity to get tested then by the trades associations at the end and get that professional certification. I think yesterday we heard from Philip Pausner of Thermondo saying that they need also like a massive influx of installers, and he quoted also this Sprint study that says we can get 10 times more efficient in craftsmanship when we increase the number of helpers in installer teams and streamline the processes more efficiently. So I'm saying, let's not just get more plumbers and HVAC technicians into the system, because in Germany we see it's just not possible. Demographically, there's going to be a huge retirement wave. We see not enough people are going in this direction, but although we need to do a lot to still encourage people to go in this field. Also, we see in Germany a lot of people that go into this vocational training are breaking off in the apprenticeship for any number of reasons. So we're really looking at this target group. We call them like cooks and taxi drivers, people that are in other sort of low-paying jobs, to shift them into these green jobs and give them better career perspectives.
Okay, you're the youngest among us.
Yeah.
You have an interesting story about yourself, like what kind of education you have and what you do for the moment and what you want to do in the future. So tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Sebastian, and I'm actually an industrial engineer, and I studied mostly energy economics and energy technology, so I'm quite familiar with heat pumps. And at some point I thought about what is the biggest opportunity I can take, just like from ecological point of view. So I decided to become a plumber. Right, or at least I think so, that if we scale that up, that could make a really big change. And I see every day, actually right now, that it is in Germany, it's a mid-sized company. I do an apprenticeship, which is normally 3.5 years long, and the master of that apprenticeship, which is 2 years on top. I do both in parallel right now, and I try if that is possible as a lateral entrant. And I can tell you it's absolutely not working, like not at all. I see from the educational system, at least in Germany, and what I've heard from other countries as well, that if you don't go the normal way after middle school, you start your apprenticeship, then you just redo a part of your career. And if we want people to come into that business, and let's say just there is no one, we would say in German, they're not growing on the tree. We don't have enough persons to build these heat pumps in, and so I'm trying to do, and I'm seeing the challenges, and that's why I'm here. And possibly I want to be a future CEO of a plumbing company because right now I see this market is growing up like crazy, and the margins are high.
He told me his margins, and I think that is a problem. The margins are too high. In the future, they have to be more efficient, have lesser margins, but still earn a lot of money. But that's a different story.
Absolutely, but just to that point, we heard about the sprint study. We said 10 times more efficiency. Actually, it's not efficiency, it's 10 times more heat pumps we can build, because the efficiency part is just the operational efficiency and the administrative efficiency, which they say can double it, and I absolutely believe that's true. If I just see how we build heat pumps and they tell us, the customers, that we are already like quite cheap and we need less time than their friends, I just get, if I see that there's a lot of potential. So we can go down with the prices. Like
I can just tell you that in Scandinavia...
I would say if we build 10 times more heat pumps, isn't that 10 times more efficient?
No, we get more. There's that helpers which come into that system. If we stay with the same people,
there's a discussion about like how many hours, how many days do you use, like how many people do you need. Like and when it comes to air-to-air heat pumps, the competition in Scandinavia is really hard. The prices is the same in Scandinavia, and the prices has been the same for 15 years, even with inflation. Like it's actually cheaper now than 15 years ago because really tough competition. But when it comes to air-to-water, brine-to-water, in Sweden, they do installation in 1 day. In Norway, maybe 1.5 and 2 days, if they're really skilled. Normally, 4 or 5 days. So, like, if we all get as professional as the Swedes and the Finns, you'll see, then we can do something with the price too. But that's a totally different discussion. But it has to do with skills. Maria, going back to vocational training and the youth, like one thing is like, what can we do with the 15, 16 years old that haven't chosen their path yet? And that is one thing, and the other is like, as you have told me, like the curriculum that you have today is outdated, and to revise those often takes 4 or 5 years, and we have ambitious plans until 2030. So what can we do now? What can we do to speed up?
That was exactly the reason for writing the course. There was nothing. There was nothing in the current curriculum. There are the 2-year built environment courses, but of course that's not for renewable technologies. That's for sort of heating and plumbing and electrical. There is actually, for IFATE, again, I'm looking at UK at the moment, there is the new low carbon technician apprenticeship. But again, it's not started. Well, the apprenticeship is actually 3 years long. We need installers now. We don't need them in 3 years' time. I mean, literally, stats-wise, in the UK, we have 135,000 heating and plumbing engineers, of which only 3,000 to 4,000 are actually heat pump trained. Well, in 2028, the target is 600,000 installations, so there's absolutely no way we're going to hit government trajectory. It's just not physically possible. And again, that was why it was imperative for me to get something into the state system, because if it's in the colleges, it starts with the youth. One thing also that we have done, and again, it was coming as a parent, to be honest. I'm so worried. A lot of these children, again, post-pandemic, their heads down, literally just texting all the time. The sort of soft skills, they've gone. The sort of natural conversational skills. So part of the course actually at the end is actually where they actually address the class. But what that does is actually gives them confidence building skills. I want them to be able to sell themselves, because if they can sell themselves, they can then sell equipment. If they can sell themselves, they can go to an interview and competently sell themselves. So that was why it wasn't just practical skills that was so important for me. It was actually the soft skills that for vocational levels.
Yeah. If you can follow up on that, one thing is like in long term we need updated curriculum and good public training and not training but in vocational school and high schools and universities, that everything have to be upgraded. But what can you are concerned about that? The time we have, it's a limitation. What can we do?
If we're talking about getting someone who builds them up, or to let people decide more for heat pumps, we need to change at the point of decision, and that is 2 points basically. Once the customer gets his maintenance every year, then he's talking to the technician who is in his house. And if he wants to get an offer, he's talking to the technical project leader, often in small and mid-sized companies. And I see the biggest problem actually there. This is the person who does the consultation, and a lot of people, at least in our company, and I know it from a lot of companies, they're in age between 40 and 60. They never had heat pumps in school. They barely know about heat pumps. And I wouldn't like to consult something I don't know about. And if we want to change right now the quota, how many persons decide for a heat pump, we have to teach these persons who are taking the decision and doing the consultation. And afterwards, for me, the technician, who is the first point of contact. And I know it from my company, nearly all of them, they just like fire. It is like it is. And if it's not burning and if it's not making a little boom when it starts, then it's not cool. And that's it. So we have to educate them, even though there's a lot of trainings, and sometimes they're for free, and there would be possibilities. They don't take them. It costs money for sure for the business because he's not working. But that at this point, they're not changing anything. So if we want to change it now, first them, and afterwards for sure the program that we teach the teachers and so on, because I never heard something in my year right now of my apprenticeship. I never heard something from a heat pump until now.
And that's the problem. Also, the apprenticeship doesn't really talk that much about heat pumps in Germany. It's in a very small part of the curriculum, and it's also too long, right? It's like a 3-year program. So if we're talking about getting people into the field fast, we want shorter, more modularized programs. And the second question is, who's paying for that? Right? So a classic apprenticeship program is like a vocational training, which is also state-funded and everything. But when you start talking about modularized programs for heat pump helpers or installer helpers, the question is like, is that a state program? Is that a company-sponsored program? The cost is actually quite high because, as you said, you have to have this hands-on training. You have to actually learn how to operate the machines. You have to learn how to lay the pipes. You have to go through all of the physical steps in order to do it to sort of like a high level of quality. And this is something we saw in the solar boom in Germany in like 2011, 2012, that people were massively trained in very short programs, and the level of quality was not high enough. So the question is like, how can you make those modular programs that get people quickly in the field, that have a high degree of standardization, a high level of quality, and finally, who pays?
Well, again, I don't know for Europe, but in the UK, the course that's been written for the college is funded. There's 2 routes actually. There's a non-regulated provision, which obviously is a drawdown for the colleges, but also for those older people, and I'm saying those that actually have been in trade but want to completely diversify into another technology, there is another funding route as well for those because it's in the colleges. One thing, again, I forgot to mention earlier with the course, which again, coming from an installer ourselves, we noticed that obviously if something isn't installed properly, 6-7 months later, of course you get a call back. The one criteria that was imperative to get into the course was actually the design criteria, because if it's not designed correctly, in 6 months' time, whoever's done the install, they're going to get a call back anyway. So we've really tried as an installer to cover every single angle that we could possibly do, and we've actually mapped it to the new low-carbon apprenticeship as well. So it will literally be fit for purpose for that next sort of generation, really.
But to be honest, quality-wise, it's not rocket science. Just as Thomas said, I mean, I did a few heat pumps, and it's really no rocket science. Every one of you could do it. Really, maybe not working as a foreman, not working as a technical leader, that's for sure. But as we call it, career changer or helper or however you want to call it. For me, it took a few weeks of training. I had some technical background for sure, but still, we should talk about months, not about years. That's for sure, because it is just the techniques are really easy. It's easy work. You have to know what to do. There has to be someone who tells you what to do. But then we can use a lot of helpers, and that's what the sprint study says. We can use them, and that's how we get to more efficiency, or however we want to call it.
Okay, as you have understood, this is complex. Different target groups, different kind of buildings, different kind of heat pumps. But we all four agree on that we have to do something with the vocational training. We have to do something with the public, the public educational system, and that have to be solved on national level. And there have to be more focus on that. We need to do something with the existing working force. If it's people that are working on factories or whatever, that can be used on installers, helpers, whatever. And we need both like programs that you're working with that take a long time, but now to focus on things that we can do to speed up. I know that all of Europe, many manufacturers or importers or distributors, they have their own training facilities. Some of them are already doing a really good training in different countries. But what is common is that they have different kind of courses where you come half a day, maybe after work, and then you stay there for 2 or 3 hours and you get pizza or a sandwich or a beer and everybody's happy. But they actually don't learn anything. They learn a little bit about the heat pump, but many of them lack the basic knowledge about how a heat pump works, and especially if it's connected with hydronic heating. So starting with the UK, there's a lot of training facilities, lots of companies doing that, but is it working?
No, it's not working because it's not hands-on. It's just literally, that was what we were training. It was death by PowerPoint. They'd sit in a room doing a 3-day heat pump course. Obviously, yes, they were tested, but not practically tested. These are obviously the current installers, and it was obviously from noticing that there was no hands-on practicability that I then contacted our local college, actually. It's up the road from our training facility, NCC London, and it was actually speaking with the principal there that I actually realised we needed to bridge the gap between students and tradespeople, and that was why we devised this course together with Daikin, because it is exactly what is needed at the moment, which is actually getting enough people through. Again, not just on heat pumps, but all low carbon technologies. It's to actually do the right thing to sort of try and reduce our carbon footprint, and actually trying just to do what we can now while we've still got time. It's so worrying as a parent because all we ever hear is sort of the government sort of bleating on. But to be honest, all of us are parents in this room. It's down to us actually to make the difference. Everything always starts with education. It's the one thing that you can give your child that can't be taken from them. It leaves them with no vulnerability. So it doesn't matter if you're left or right. It's irrelevant to me. It's actually doing the right thing and actually educating someone to actually realise why we're in this state and how we can put things right.
Amber?
Yeah, sorry, can I say something? Because I think this is really critical, capturing the manufacturer aspect of it as well. As a career changer, to really understand the heat pump space, I went to a lot of these manufacturer product trainings, to see what's happening there, what are they like. Also went to some construction sites and accompanied installer teams to see what's actually the installment process like. And it's basically, as you described, when you do a product training at a manufacturer, it's like, come over, have some sandwiches and a beer, and we show you our new machine. But not much is really happening there. And when I talk about the question of like who can offer these modular trainings and who can pay for them, in the end, with OHKW, we decided we first looked to the private adult education market. Then we saw, first, they're too slow. Second, they're too dull. So it's going to be a very boring experience. It's going to also be death by PowerPoint. We decided we have to do it ourselves. So we become ourselves a private education institution and run these programs in a certain way that we can make the state pay for the funding. But it requires to be both relevant and interesting and also qualify for this funding. It needs a certain amount of the program to be run in a practical, hands-on way. And this is the next bottleneck. So when we talk about installers being the bottleneck in training people to be installers is having this access to infrastructure and heat pump technology, which is expensive, to be able to do it sort of at scale. And I guess my ask or my message here is we need more cooperations with manufacturers to use the training facilities that you already have. So, for example, we have our first cooperation with Vaillant in Germany. They have 22 partner centers where they offer these sort of trainings to their installers on new product information, but they're only used 60 out of 365 days a year, so they're heavily underutilized, empty spaces that are fully equipped. And this would be, for me, a step in the right direction to just find that unused capacity and maximize efficiency.
I've been involved in a lot of discussion about this, and it seems like many manufacturers, they want to control or own their installers, so they want to train them for their brand. But what I feel is they should is take a bigger responsibility to train all kind of installers, if they're a customer or not, and hopefully if they go to, if it's Vaillant or someone else, and they see that they have real good training there, this might be a business opportunity for the manufacturer.
And a brand opportunity.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's not too different. At least what I experienced. I've just seen 2 of these trainings, but they've been the same. Both pretty theoretical, beer and pizza, which was nice. But otherwise, they were not specialized on target groups. We shortly talked about it. Yeah. I actually see 3 target groups, which are really the technical leaders, then our foremen, which are the operational management on the construction site, and the helpers. And all of these 3, and at least in our case, get the same training. They have completely different needs. They have completely different knowledge. So we have to change that accordingly, that someone doesn't hear the same thing 5 times. That's why people, at least in our company, don't join these trainings, because they just hear the same and the same.
Yeah, the feedback we get from some actors that have been to training, that they feel it's more promoting of the products than real training. But also I get feedback from some that have been to real good training. Like I've been to Lyon and Groupe Atlantic's training center in France. There you get both theory, and you have like all the heat pumps installed, and you work with heat pumps. Like there are lots of good training sites.
Yeah.
But my impression is that there's some manufacturers that are not focusing enough on training. It's a big question, because we have 3 minutes left. So one thing I want to check with you is that who is responsible? We can start with financing. Should this be financed? Should it be subsidized by the manufacturers? Should this be subsidized by the state? Or is it different? Or are we talking about different kind of subsidy schemes depending on what kind of installers? Like starting with the UK, and we have to be short now. You first, Maria?
Yeah, I actually think it should be subsidised by the state. I mean, as I say, at the moment, yes, they are. They are trying. They're giving a £500 incentive for those tradespeople to upskill. But quite honestly, it's not working because the uptake isn't there. Once it's in the state system, it should be a full study program that literally takes you all the way through, because it's not just the 16 plus actually that are going to make the difference, it's the younger years. They need to start getting it embedded into the curriculum at a very young age, so that actually they are the ones that you can mould. If you think when you learn your habits, you're young, we need to make it sort of something where a 7 or 8 year old is actually learning the right way to live, the right way to have sustainable habits. Those are the habits that you'll take through to the next generations. So it's imperative it starts with education.
Okay, Amber.
For me, it's definitely the state. I feel like we're solving a lot of people's problems with what we're doing. So it makes sense, you know, if people are unemployed, if they're in a low-income job, if they're in a job that's about to be quit, if they're about to be fired from their job, or their industry is going out of business, this whole idea of bringing them into a green jobs, climate jobs setting, and retraining them for these skills to just get like more feet on the ground and hands on the job, it makes a lot of sense for me that it's state financed. We figured out a way to just get it done under sort of the existing structures, but that's because the way that we've set up the course is people really have a path towards professional certification at the end, and that's something that would be different then from country to country.
I agree with that, especially for career changes, but I think it's not realistic for the technical leaders because they're so busy. They're doing all the projects. They're doing the money in the installation companies. You can't just get them out 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever would be needed. Even if it's just 1 week, that's absolutely unrealistic when you don't pay for that. But then at least the businesses I know, they don't want that their business is just somehow stuck. So I think that's like for the 2 target groups, technical leaders and foremen, that should be done by the companies, by the industry actually.
We have to stop there. But to wrap up what's happening in Norway, like it's all the public education system is funded by the government, and also if you're unemployed, there are like reskilling programs paid by the government. But when it comes to upskilling the existing working force, then the companies have to pay themselves. But one last thing, and you have to answer quick, Sebastian. Do you believe in an EU-based certification system to work for that, or is that totally unrealistic?
For me, if we think about that, we have to act now, pragmatic. I wouldn't take the time to build it up. I see that it wouldn't just fit the needs of their own countries and the own regions, because just if you compare air-to-air heat pumps and air-water heat pumps, that's so different from the countries. I think a standard would be too much.
Okay, then we have to wrap up, and hopefully several of you were inspired. Like we all have to focus on this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm super inspired. I probably will become a heat pump installer now. I thought about a nice, good slogan for you, and I think it should be: heat pumps are cool, heat pumps are fun, heat pumps are for everyone.